Good evening, everybody. Apologies. A few Wi-Fi issues, travel issues. I was very bizarrely helping Yanis off top try and find a member of the Norwich City staff. All of that combined means we're a little bit late. So apologies for our lateness, but I'm sure you've all seen the team. We'll run it through for you. Norwich City made one change from that defeat to Sheffield United on Saturday. It's Gunn in goal on his 29th birthday. Stacey, Duffy, Doyle and Crizene as the back four. McLean, Fisher and Marcondes as the midfield three, with what we are expecting to be, but might be something different. We'll discuss it in a minute. Dobbin and Hernandez either side of Oscar Schwartau down the middle. Norwich City subs bench this evening: George Long, Brad Hills, Jayden Warner, Lucian Mahovo, Uriah Dejeje, Elliot Miles, Ken Abbo, fresh from scoring 2 goals for the under-21s last night, Josh Sargent and Antti Sienat. So that makes up Norwich City's team. So just to recap on that, one change from the side that were beaten by Sheffield United at the weekend. Oscar Schwartau comes in for Antti Sienat, who drops to the bench, as does Josh Sargent. And we're expecting him to, as we said, play down the middle with Hernandez and Dobbin either side. What do you make of that, Paddy? It's interesting. First start in a little while for Oscar Schwartau, isn't it?
Well, the reason I dipped out there, I've just called one of the sites we use, which can give you a career bio of players and positionally as well, just to see if he's ever played as a centre forward. And apparently he has. It's obviously not why he was brought to the club. We see him, Johannes sees him as an attacking midfielder of some promise, but how many games he's actually played at centre forward, if it is centre forward. But he apparently has played there for Bromley at some point in his career. So, but it does feel like a big call, and I'm sure before I even preempt looking at the comments, there'll be plenty saying, well, they paid £8 million for a striker in Antti Sienat, as Ben Napper packaged him at the AGM in November, and he's on the bench. So make of that what you will. If it is Schwartau leading the spearhead of a three, which I can't see how it would be Dobbin, Hernandez. It could be Hernandez with Schwartau on the right. We've seen him on the right. Burnley at home recently. I think Millwall or QPR, one of those two over Christmas at Carrow Road. He played on the right of the three. So it isn't beyond the realms that maybe he is actually on the right and it's on L down the middle. We won't know until 7:45.
No, and we'll wait and see. But certainly the noises are that it's going to be Oscar Schwartau playing down the middle with Hernandez and Dobbin either side. And I think you can see that, Paddy, can't you, in terms of the type of game that we're expecting, where Norwich City are going to have to defend here this evening. They're going to have to suffer a lot, you would expect. With the pace of Dobbin, with the pace of Hernandez, you can see that being a route to getting them up the pitch this evening.
Well, yeah, but again, it bleeds into the excellent sort of segment of the presser yesterday when he was talking about how they want to build the play. That almost predisposes they're just going to go long and try and hit the pace into the channels, and that's not really what this team is about.
I don't think it has to be that, does it? We saw them get Dobbin in a few times at the weekend.
But yeah, with diagonals from Doyle. But the difference tonight, I think, is they won't have as much of the ball. Leeds will have more of the possession. So what they do have, they're probably going to have to be a little bit more direct if that's how they're setting up. As I say, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, I think what isn't in dispute is Leeds will probably edge possession tonight, and Norwich will have to do a lot without the ball. So that shape could be Schwartau dropping slightly deeper, making even more bodies for him to play through in the middle of the park. And then, if you can turn it over, those diagonals to either a Dobbin or a Hernandez in behind, that might be a profitable route. But all feels a little bit as I look down the Leeds lineup as well. And Aronson and Solomon are both fit. Daniel was indicating there might be issues there. That looks a pretty strong lineup to me. There's no sense there that they've taken Norwich too lightly in their 11. So, the reality is, however Norwich set up and whatever positionally they go with tonight, it's going to take pretty Herculean effort to come here and get anything, I think.
Yeah, particularly with a squad of players, which again, as we spoke about on Saturday, it's a young bench. Hills on there, JJ on there, Miles on there, Mahovo on there, Warner on there, Abbo on there. It's very young again, and this would have been a very difficult task if Norwich City were equipped with a fully fit Josh Sargent and available Moha Sain. Mate Jurasek, who obviously we haven't seen yet, but that's a body there obviously without at the moment. All of the 6 midfielders that are out, including obviously Marcelino Nunez. It would have been a tough test even with all of those available. So tonight, when you're looking at that and you're looking at Kellen Fisher in midfield and Oscar Schwartau potentially as a striker, and again a very, very young bench, it makes what it already feels a tough task even tougher.
Yeah, and I mean, I thought the subtext of what he said yesterday was that it's going to be a struggle tonight, clearly, and that's not throwing a towel in. He also said in that presser that his belief, and he felt his players' belief, looking in their eyes, is that they can come here and get something. So that's a given. Yeah, they're professionals; they're not going to come and roll over, but you have to be realistic. This is the best side in the division with Sheffield United, but certainly I think most common consent would say Leeds are the best side. The stats back that up. At home here at Elland Road, they're excellent. I think they've only lost 3 league games in 27, home or away. That's the scale of the task. Yeah, one here. So, with all of that context, you come here with Nunes, you come here with Sargent fit and firing, you come here with all the other key players who are unavailable. It'd still be a difficult task. So, stands to reason, while acknowledging that they're not going to come here and roll over, it's hard to plot a route for this group of the players, looking at that lineup on the bench particularly, to come here and really upset the apple cart. But stranger things have happened, haven't they? But and they are both in the same league. Let's it's not a giant killing act we're looking at here today, or framing it in that way, shape or form. Norwich results went up favourably for them last night. I thought around them, the teams around them, you could get a result here tonight and take that momentum into Swansea. It's not beyond them, but to me, I think without second guessing what Giannis is going to say, I think Sargent on the bench, I think Cernach on the bench is very much with a view that Swansea, of the 2 games coming up, is the one where they feel they're going to get some points from rather than Leeds. Yes, agreed.
I mean, on Josh Sargent, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because whenever he's available, the feeling is he should play, but you can kind of understand why, looking ahead to the weekend, looking ahead to the run of games they've got after this one, why maybe if you're Giannis off top, you just preserve him that little bit longer.
Yeah, because, again, without repeating what we've already said, we know the type of game tonight is probably going to be one where whoever's leading that line is going to do a lot of selfless work, a lot of running. They're not going to see too much of the ball potentially. They're not certainly going to have too many entries into the Leeds box in terms of chances. So do you want to put Sargent into that environment when he's been out 14 league games? He's come back from groin surgery and he's such a crucial player for them. I can see why they've erred on the side of caution. It's frustrating because it doesn't improve their chances any by having him on the bench. But like on Saturday, the way that game was set up, but for Ben Krezeni's rush of blood, Josh Sargent was stripped, ready and about to come on at 1-0 down with a 20-25 minute window maybe for Norwich to sort of push back and play on a little bit of anxiety in the crowd. Who's to say we don't have a similar scenario tonight? I don't see it, but it's potentially the case, and if so, to have Sargent to call on in a 20-25 minute burst isn't the worst. But I think the reality is, Giannis said to me after the game Saturday, he will start one of these next 2. He hasn't started tonight. We will see him leading the line against Swansea.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we've got the Leeds team just to flash up here. We do. This is how they line up. Melier in goal, Bogle, Rodon, Ampadu and Sam Byram, obviously former Norwich City player at left back. Tananka and Rothwell is their midfield 2. James and Solomon on either flank, and Aronson behind Joel Hero. I mean, just some of their names on the bench at this level. Carl Darlow, the goalkeeper, Julian Firpo, Ramazani, Matteo Joseph, Joshua Giavogi, Willie Nonto, of course, Isaac Schmidt, Max Vorber, Gruev as well. Of course, this is a team that Daniel Farke has assembled to try and get them back to the Premier League after what was a playoff final defeat. We won't speak about the semi-final so much. If I predict a riot tonight, I think my ears might bleed because I'm not sure I'm fully over that night yet, but there we go. But you look at that, and as you map out, they are the best team in the league for a reason. Their home form is exceptional. They've lost here once all season. It was to Burnley. I think they've won 11 home games. They've taken the most points. They've scored the most goals. It's a daunting task, isn't it? As we keep saying.
Yeah. I don't want to take a stand.
Where are the weak points, Paddy, in that Leeds team?
Well, just before I get to that, this has caught my eye. Given the amount of injuries Norwich have got, it's not coming up, is it? But
yeah, well, Finley has said it's funny how Byram is still fit and not had a long-term injury since leaving us.
There we go.
It comes up eventually.
Yeah, well, that is rather not amusing, but yeah, I mean, he seems to be playing a lot of games here, don't he? But we won't open that can of worms about injuries and why there's so many at Norwich. But yeah, but I mean, Farke himself was talking about This Norwich will come here with no expectation outside of maybe their own group. You put that to Giannis, he pushed back on that a little bit, but I think that will be the case. So realistically, does anybody outside of the Norwich bubble expect them to come here and get anything? There might be a freedom to how they perform, but I think what we're looking for tonight is maybe like Sheffield United, Camber Hogo come on and in a little 20-minute cameo again, suggest that he might be ready for a bit more first team involvement. I think it'll be little signals like that. It's just, for all the reasons we've already discussed, given who they're playing tonight, they also need to win. Sheffield United have won last night. They need to win to go back top. They've got that incentive as well. The motivation is high for them. So if they leave tonight and they fall the wrong side of the result, but there's some strands that we can clutch on to take back to Carrow Road and Swansea, then we'll take that. I think that might be the best case scenario tonight.
Yeah, I mean, the good thing is, if we're going to frame it as a good thing, is that the fact they play Sheffield United and Leeds this early into the new year. I mean, the next time they play one of the top teams, I'm not quite sure when they face Sunderland, but they've obviously got to go to Burnley away from home. Sunderland come to Carrow Road, so maybe slightly different. It doesn't look too bad as a run of games after this one for them to really attack and maybe to try and eat up some of that gap to the top six, whatever it may be at the end of this evening. In terms of this game and the way Norwich City are going to approach it, Pat, it's about and Giannis used the word survival. It is about surviving periods of time, isn't it? I think we spoke about this a little bit before the playoff semi-final about how you have to. Norwich went 1-0 down after about 8 minutes. Yeah. But I think you have to survive the first 15 minutes, then the next 15 minutes, and that's the way you have to view it, isn't it? To just try and, because then, as you say, if you can keep yourself competitive and in the game, we know what this fan base is like. They're going to get frustrated. That all plays into your hand.
Well, I mean, the game here, the Yorkshire derby against the Sheffield Wednesday on Sunday, I mean, it was a 3-0 win. Anybody looking at that from afar, not knowing how that game panned out, a routine home win for Leeds, but I think it was 1-0 to about the 88th minute. I think Sheffield had a few chances. Leeds were the better team and merited probably that margin of victory in the end, but didn't see the game. But I would imagine in that second half, as it ticked by and they're only one goal ahead, there would have been a little bit of anxiety, a little bit of unease. Now, can this Norwich group recreate something similar? Feels like a tall order, but it's not beyond them. Leeds might just come off it. For all it's saying that there's no pressure on Norwich, is on Leeds. If they can't quite hit them heights, they'll have expended a lot of energy, emotional and physical, on Sunday to beat Sheffield Wednesday here. There might just be a little bit of a bit of mental fatigue maybe in the Leeds players and the Leeds performance. Norwich can capitalise on that, who knows, but it feels we're clutching at a little bit of straws there, if I'm honest. But because as has been pointed out, their bench, if that was the scenario and they're looking a bit leggy and a bit weary, Daniel Parker can turn around and throw on players like Nonso and Joseph and Firpo. Norwich don't have that luxury, so that's why you think it's going to be a tall order tonight, because even if Norwich that 11 can be competitive for 60-65 minutes, they have game changers to alter this game in the final quarter. So for me it's moving forward tonight, no injuries, and hopefully some of the younger lads put their hands up again. Maybe a few more minutes for Sargent, and then we get back to Carrow Road. And as you say, Swansea may be the start of a more forgiving cycle. And hopefully as well, on that run, we get players back. I've seen a question about Sainz. This is the third game of a 6-game ban. Halfway, yeah. So, maybe in 3 or 4 games' time, they've got him back. They've got 2 or 3 of them central midfielders, and the world looks a happier place.
Yeah, indeed. Before we get on to predictions, so I'm sure you guys are not that eager for our predictions this evening, given all of what we've just mapped out. But on the January front, because I see Simon's Universe of Music has asked it about doing a little bit more work. Sort of quiet, isn't it? I think that's probably the way to say it. I mean, I kind of got asked why I didn't ask about it in the press conference yesterday, and in truth, it's because there's not a lot going on really.
No, that we're here. I mean, I spoke to somebody earlier in the day on Tuesday who would be in and around this from inside the club, and they said, everything they're hearing is that it is very quiet. As it stands now, I think, take Giannis at his word last week, and he said, really, the only scenario he sees incomings is if they get unexpected bids for players and they decide to cash out. Another scenario is they clearly have target lists of players. We know about the CDM, the 6. Johannes has teased that earlier in the window. We know about the goalkeeper situation with Gunny. and what that might look like in the summer. They have these target lists. As it was told to me, if any of the number 1, number 2 targets on those lists became available in this window, they would maybe look to push the button and look to do some business. That clearly isn't 22nd of January, the window closes February 3rd. There's certainly no encouragement in terms of their top targets on those lists. And if that's the case, they certainly won't be going down to 4th target, 5th target, just for the sake of bringing in a body. They'd rather sit and do the business in the summer. So we are in effectively, and it's tonight's team lineup only maybe adds to a little bit of frustration amongst the fan base who want something to happen. But everything we hear is we're in a holding pattern now, and unless something changes, it'll be a holding pattern for the rest of this winter. Score. Well, until I got here, I thought Daniel might take it a bit easy on him. We know he's very soft bot. No, exactly. No, he hasn't. No, but and I thought maybe 2-0 Leeds, but the pessimism's kicking in now, so maybe 3-0 Leeds. I think.
Yeah, that's where I am. That's where I've been all day. 3. Yeah, I think just try and get out of here unscathed without too bad damage being done in terms of a result. Look, it would be brilliant, wouldn't it, if Norwich could upset the odds. We've been here before, of course, and there have been examples where the odds have been against Norwich City. You only have to think about Manchester City a few years ago, where I don't think anyone in that ground...
You're dredging it. I'm
trying to spin it.
Generational result.
I don't think it will go that way. I think this is going to be really difficult. It's the toughest test in the Championship. Norwich aren't in the best place. Get through it unscathed, return home. 3-0 Leeds. Yeah.
I'll just Jeff Man saying about there are posts here, but no, sadly, not one right in the middle of the goal.
We're in a bit of a better view, so I hope you can see.
We'll see all the goals in their glory.
Yeah, so this is a row of seats. There's also a row of seats behind that for the playoff semis. We were right at the back, so we didn't have a great view, which wasn't all too bad that night, in truth. This is a better view. I've got posts sort of here in front of the goal to the left, which Norwich will be attacking at some point. So
actually, now I'm moving back to my designated seat. There is a post in the middle.
Yeah. All right. Well, you might not need it.
No, that's so good. So I probably won't see a lot of the goals in that net.
Yeah, exactly. You
going 3-0?
I'm going 3-0 Leeds. Yeah. That's how I'm feeling. But I was trying to add some balance and positivity to
my Canary 1-2. That is optimistic.
Yeah, and one thing that is going to be sure, if they're going to get anything here tonight, they need to be a lot more productive in terms of converting some of those attacking moments that they had on Saturday, and they did have some, into real chances, and obviously into shots on target as well, of course. Pinkin.com, the place to go throughout the evening. We'll bring you all the coverage, all the analysis, all the reaction of this game. You can see the team news scrolling below your screen. We're expecting Oscar Schwartau to be almost a false 9 tonight. We'll see how that all unfolds, and hopefully this is a bit more of a positive experience than what we experienced here in May. How many months ago was that? 7 months?
Yeah, I'm just hoping Johannes has made it back down from the press room to the away dressing room. Otherwise, we'll be in pretty bad. You might have to go down there and swap places with that.
It's never that bad. Thank you everyone for watching. Thanks for persevering. Sorry for the lateness again, and we'll see you again very soon. Cheers, guys.